Like and subscribe. Pretty please. What is the worst thing that you've seen a coworker do and still avoid being fired? Accidentally send the last 3 years of account details / back statements from one company to their direct competitor. Had a boss storing pictures of himself in only his wide open bathrobe on company servers. It was reported to ours, but wasn't fired for it. Later, he was arrested as part of an undercover sting where he thought he was meeting a 15-year-old girl about 500 miles away. Bauer's rep found out about a person's elective surgery and made fun of her with a former employee. Let me recap. This person knew about an employee's private medical information because she worked with our healthcare plan in her role as ours and shared that private information with another person. For the sole purpose of mocking the employee, she was not fired. That's not just worthy of being fired, that's 100% illegal. Worked with a guy who punctured the main gas line to our shop 3 separate times. It was a construction company, and he somehow was still my superintendent, although he could have blown up the shop. My dad's foreman once put gasoline in something that needed water and ruined an entire asphalt driveway. He's old and forgetful and only works to get away from his wife. I knew an elder gentleman who accidentally primed a well pump with the 5-gallon jug of kerosene rather than water. After that incident, the tap water was no longer allowed to be used for anything food related. I know someone who managed to close an entire supermarket early for the first time in its history, costing the company several thousands of pounds because they tried to set a clock on a computer back an hour to avoid missing some deadline for a daily routine. He said it seemed such a good idea at the time. Guy at my wife's old job was brought in because he was really good at selling the services they provided, proceeded to send dick pics to the women at work and solicit nudes from them. Women said to stop or they'd take it up with management, and it subsided some. Solicited nudes from a new chick who asked my wife about it, and my wife went to management with everything and said this guy's out or I'm quitting. Well, she quit. Guy's still there, but most the original female staff has quit. Money talks. Dudes bringing in more money than the sexual harassment issues. Shit's dumb, but if it's not a huge company, then that's definitely why he's still there. Small companies will let insane shit slide, money and poor management reasons alike. As an assistant manager at a Valvoline instant oil change, I was dealing with an unreasonable customer that had just spit at a female employee that he didn't want working on his car. He didn't know that the guy under his car was her boyfriend. The guy comes up the steps, grabs an oil gun, and starts pumping 10W30 all climate into the guy's window as he's frantically trying to start the car and roll up the window. The employee was reprimanded pretty hard, but it was understood why he did it. No charges were filed. The franchise owner paid a lot of money to have the guy's car cleaned. Obviously, I never saw him again. Well, this is the only example where I'm cheering for the offender. Former Viarc assistant manager also. This would have been 12 years ago now. Our gun locks never worked properly, so for the most part we always had to hold the trigger arm down to pump in the oil. No big deal. Probably better anyway, but the locks also prevent accidentally opening the valve when they would get caught on the gun rack, facing the passenger side of a car, with a woman's brand new $4,000 bridal dress sitting uncovered in the front seat. It was a complete accident, and thankfully the manager was there when it happened. I took the topside guy who was visibly upset, verge of tears, guilty feeling, out the back door, talked him down, told him to take a long on the clock lunch. The customer's fiance came up later that day to apologize for his future bride being rightfully pissed off at us. 2 days later, the corporate maintenance guy for our chain was replacing and testing every single gun on the rack. We had to suspend the guy for not following procedures. Area manager had to do it because the chain managers forced him to, and he quit while on suspension. But it could have been literally anybody in the store that day. Worst coworker ever was the credit mooch. He would constantly horn in on other people's projects, getting his name added to them to make it look like he was doing shit when he actually not. If people tried to assign him any work on said project, he would have a personal emergency, or a virus would make him lose all his work, or his schedule is booked with other project, or the worst, he would pull some sucker in to help him with it, and said sucker would end up doing it all Utter frustration. Because he was so good at stealing credit, he managed to get top marks on his reviews, despite doing absolutely zero actual work for the company. I know at least 4 people quit due to this guy getting better raises than they did. Far as I know, they never actually got rid of him. That's middle management material right there. Obligatory, not me but my wife. She had a coworker that literally punched a customer, wasn't fired. He later got into a physical altercation with another coworker, wasn't fired. Then he wrapped my wife's hair around her throat and play choked her. Still was not fired. Finally, he got into yet another altercation with a coworker and pulled a gun on him, all while on the clock. Then he was fired. After already being disciplined and essentially demoted for doing his job terribly, my coworker drunk texted all of our managers in the middle of the night, asking why they didn't love him. It's been about 2 weeks, and I haven't seen him since, but he's not gone. Not the worst thing he could have done, but I cringe thinking about it. Not the same thing, but I drunkenly sent a dick pic to my work group chat, and I'm still absolutely mortified till this day. Had a coworker as a standard business practice falsely condemn furnaces in winter to pressure home ER owners into buying new systems and pad his commission check. I couldn't do anything, as I had no direct proof, but he would joke about it all the time. It did finally catch up with him when one customer smelled BS and called other companies with advanced testing machines, took those results, and sued the poop out of him. I ended up working for that second company and haven't looked back. Still a bunch of marked tools. They were painted white. Showed everyone in the shop pictures of his deer with said tools in the background. Gets reported. Boss calls him on it. He said, "You got me. I stole a gallon of white paint." Never heard the boss laughing so hard. Year later or so he gets promoted, lol. This dude walks a server out of the server room every 6 months or so to sell on eBay. We have literally no security except the front door, but the owner is so ancient and out of touch, I doubt she even remembers things are being stolen. We had a net guy that was stealing old laptops after we replaced them for employees with new ones. Funny thing was that we didn't give him a raise for 5 years since we knew about it, and apparently he didn't want to quit, either out of fear of being discovered or due to the extra money he was making. His raise would have been worth more than the laptops, so we just let it continue. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.